all right, man. We back in the building. What's going on, YouTube, man? This your boy, Mr. GDK. As always, man. Welcome.
Welcome.
It's Trust Talk Podcast out here. And today, as I kept my promise, we're gonna get into this topic
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay calm.
everyone?
of submission. I already know how this gonna go. If people see, well, I guess mainly if women see this, it's gonna be one of these things like, let's see what another guy got to say.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Before I even get into the topic, let me set the, I guess you can say, let me set the playing field and level it out a little bit. Not every man or every woman is meant to be married. I truly believe that. I don't think every man, every woman is meant for marriage. Marriage is something, that requires a different level of commitment. And, I think that everybody just don't want that, honestly. Some people where they at in their life right now, that's not even important to them. So with that being said, this is gonna be something that's not for everybody. When I get into it, I'm gonna do my absolute best to let God control the narrative when it comes to submission for women and men, because like I said in my previous video, both parties will learn, and both parties will definitely have to understand to give each other grace, because it's something that you will learn the full length of your marriages. It's not something that once you say I do and you're in your covenant and you just know. Mm-mm. It's a learning experience. It's being coachable, being just understanding, and just having patience and grace, man. But we're gonna get into it. Look over here. We're gonna get into it. This one's going to be very interesting and probably a little bit longer than most of my other videos. So I'm gonna switch to my other camera view and let's kick it off. So yeah, have to excuse me. I'm a little bit under the weather. Wife been sick, so she didn't gave it to me, and I'm still trying to get through it. So here, most couples know Ephesians chapter 5 and verse like 22 to 31, I believe, talks about marriage in a general sense. Let me get that up there. So, marriage, Christ and the church. Yeah, let's go.
And here we go.
2 says, wives, submit yourself unto your husband as unto the Lord. So, starters, let's get this out the way. Wives that are in their marriage, they know this. But I'm finna come a little bit out of my comfort zone for single women, which I really didn't want. And when I make this statement, this is me, I'm not making no statement to trying to, make it seem like I'm talking down anyone or anything like that, especially women. But for my guys, pay attention. Please pay attention. If you're, I'm a little old school, courting, dating a woman, and she cannot show you that she is learning how to let God manifest in her life, if she can't necessarily show you that she is willing to learn how to let God lead her, then that probably be a red flag, because it simply says, "Wives, submit yourselves unto your husband That's a secondary. That's the secondary in that verse. Then it says, as unto the Lord. That means she's supposed to be good with the Lord or doing her best to be within God's, covering first before the husband, with the Lord first. First. He is not Lord, is not second, first. So therefore, that is supposed to be the primary. The primary. And like I said, you're gonna have to extend grace because this is something that has to be learned, developed, um, cultivated, you know, with her and God. That's just honest. So that's not one of them things that there's a difference between knowing and showing. Knowing and actions are much different. So, with that being said, to all women out there, look, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. I will let anybody know I'm just a sinner that's trying to get better in life. We all are. I'm included, so I'm not excluding myself. But, fellas, if she's not trying to show those characteristics that is willing to submit to the Lord's covering, nurturing, leading, and understanding, it's gonna be a hard time. She's gonna have a hard time doing that for her husband. I'm just being. It's just gonna be real. That's not to say she can't learn, but everybody, everybody journey is different. Everybody, some people, get across the finish line, you know, faster than others, as it says. Husbands is very, very simple, but not. So let's go. I'm not gonna try to read every verse, but excuse me, I want to hit some of them. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. 24. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husband in everything. Yeah, that's a tough one because women, and maybe they just don't like it. I'm not 100% sure, but hey, maybe women just don't like it. But and it also goes 25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. So, women, this is where the husband learns, starts to learn his process for submitting. Because if the husband is supposed to love you as Christ loved the church, and Christ gave himself for the church, that is something that let me get my words right. That's an action. That's a serious action because what he has the first thing that one of the first things I think women don't understand about men is that we're like sometimes when it comes to getting where God wants us, we are like horses in a general sense, like a wild horse. And most of the time, a horse has to be broken in order for it to be ridden. When men, especially for married men, being married as long as I have, and other gentlemen out there that's been married, if if they're the type of man which every man is striving to be, God fearing, you know, loving their wives, protecting their wives, providing for their wives, trying to be that image that when the wife looks at him, she's proud of it. And when the guy is, you know, hitting those check marks, there's this little thing that happens to us. It's this little word that we operate with, and it's called pride. And that's not a bad thing under no circumstances. It's not. But sometimes when we're in that when we're in that flow of that, and we're everything's going good. Like I said, everything's operating well. God will look and be like, oh, that's cool. But if it's one thing I don't need you operating with, it's pride. Because at any given moment, I can take the rug from under that. Like I said, that's just how some of us men operate. When we are, when we're on, yeah, we walk around, got a little bravado, chest out, we good, we good, wife good, house good, kids good, you know what I'm saying? Like baby good, you need a couple bucks this week. I got you, you know what I'm saying? Hey, go on, get your nails, all that stuff, When you own, you make you feel good, you get you, then you tend to forget, sometimes it just happens, man. It's just being a man, you just happens. You just gotta understand sometimes that's where, I always say at the end of my video, you, for a man being humble, you know, staying in that place of just trying to be humble is important because if anybody know the book of Job, man, Job had it going. Job had it popping. Job had everything going. He was good, wife was good, kids was good, everything was popping. Then this thing, God stepped out the way and Job went from here to there, you know, lost a lot, and he didn't do nothing wrong. So, ladies, sometimes when us men, when we're moving and grooving, and we got everything going, y'all gotta understand, man. Like, even if even if we are doing what's right, it's just pride is something that God don't want us really operating in. There's nothing wrong to be proud of what you're doing, and but we sometimes God want us to understand that, hey, only reason why you're doing this is because of me. I can make all this change in a moment, in a blink of an eye. You really, really can. So, you know, ladies, that sometimes happen to men. Not all. It's not like that all the time. But when God want to bring us down and make us understand that, hey, everything that you're doing right now, even though God is, like, hey, this is good, but hey, I need you level headed more than anything. I need you level headed. Like, let me get to the verse. Dun, 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 dun. So, with this being said, ladies, like I said, this is where men starts to learn their submission because a man is supposed to, provide, protect, and really lay his life down for you. No different than how Jesus did it on the cross when he did it for everybody. That is the man's whole goal. That is his submission. That is his submission for him, is to bear it all. Is to bear it all for the betterment of you. And that ain't something that you just have. Even if you're willing, that's still something that has to be coached and taught. And getting that relationship, getting your relationship better with God, and that's how you get that. That's however God has that looking for the husband in your life, whether it be studying, reading, definitely trusting in, his process for the husband and for the wife. Like that is challenging. It's very, very challenging. It is not something that is easy. Even for the wife submitting to the husband, it's challenging because regardless of how much you love someone, that is still challenging. When two people who've been, doing their thing, separately, and then now they coming together and merging together as one. Like, think of merging in the traffic. Sometimes it's a smooth transition. Sometimes it ain't. I, I live in the great state of Texas, man. Look, when you have to merge into traffic, sometimes it's terrible out here. Terrible. So take that into consideration, man. So when you're merging two together, man, that's not an easy process. And that's why I say for the husband and the wife, you definitely got to allow, excuse me, you have to allow a lot of grace, a lot of grace. You really, really do. So with that being said, man, as I say, I always keep my reader with me, man. I always keep my reader with me. And I'm gonna read something. I'm in Ephesians. Like I said, I keep my study Bible. With all my notes down here, they always give me in breaking down scriptures because the scriptures are at the top up here, and then I get my breakdowns down here. So I want to read something. Let's see. It's two part. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'm gonna read the second part of it because it's pretty long. It says, let's see. Well, I may just read the whole thing. It says the marital responsibility of husbands is to love your wives. Comes from a Greek word. I'm not gonna try to pronounce this word. Like I even went online and had, it pronounced to me. I'm sorry. I can't. Every time I try to pronounce it, it feels like I got no teeth in my mouth. I feel like a newborn talking. Like, I'm sorry. I apologize. I cannot pronounce the word. I'm not even gonna sit up here and act like I can. But it comes from a Greek word when rendered love. The word is spelled Agapao, and the O has a hyphen on top of it, which donates the willing sacrificial giving on the husband's part for the benefit of his wife without thought of return. Without thought of return. That means that when he is willing to submit like that without any thought, without anything, with no expectations from the wife, that's a lot. There ain't too many men walking around here that is willing to submit like that and don't have no expectation in return. Just being honest, it's just not. So, as Christ gave himself for the church, so there is to be no sacrifice, not even laying down of his life, that a husband should not be willing to make for his wife. Ladies, that's the man's sacrifice. That's his submission. That's where his submission comes in. And that's why, some ladies, you'll hear a lot of stuff on a lot of these podcasts and things where I'm not submitting to no man because he got to bring this in and that in and that. Like, that ain't even what it's about. I don't like. Do you know the responsibility of carrying that every single day, knowing that the man's literally responsibility and part of his identity is to make sure that he lays everything on the line for the betterment of you. And you'll hear a lot of podcasts with these women talking, that's what he's supposed to do. Yes, but are you willing to submit to that? Because when a man is in that position, that means he has given his all. When you submit to him, that means you feel some of his cup. And that is hard, very hard for a man to walk around half full. Like, it really, really is, especially when he's willing to lay it all on the line for the betterment of you. Whether you're, and I say this, whether your man makes 60, 70 a year, 600 or 700,000, it don't really matter. He's still, if he's doing his best to do it the right way, that carries a lot of weight and responsibility. So he needs the woman in submit. And when I say he needs woman submission, I don't mean like when he necessarily get home, you're supposed to have this ready, that ready, that ready. That's not what I mean. Although that's nice, but that's not the end goal. When like, think of it this way: when Jesus went to the cross, he wasn't fighting against it. He wasn't, saying that, no, I'm not going. No, y'all not finna nail me up there. What you talking about? You finna do what? You got your mind? No, it wasn't none of that. He willingly and he submitted to what he had to do. Willingly. That's what the man has to learn. He has to be willingly. He has to be willing. And when the man is doing his best to do that and following God's and trying to stay within that image, ladies, the reason why he needs your submission is because that is his that's when he's at his most vulnerable. And we know most men get tore down for being vulnerable. We get tore down for, you know, letting our guard down and having to, manage our emotions sometimes. Like when when a man is doing his best to do that, that's when he is really vulnerable. That is part of his vulnerability. And sometimes all a man want when it comes to a lady submitting is just making a comfortable space. Sometimes he may not even say anything. Like there'll be times I come home, man, I ain't necessarily had a bad day, but just maybe I just had a lot on my mind that day. And maybe I'll just come home, man, from work, shower. My wife may, she gets home before me. I may just be sitting on the couch. She was like, babe, you good? Like, yeah, I'm just, mentally drained. I just lay on her. And she'll just kind of, love on me, rub on my head. And she won't even say nothing sometimes. I just lay there. And sometimes that just makes the difference in the world. It's the simple things that just sometimes, just understanding, where your husband's at. And it'd be the same for her. Like she done came home and, just may not had a good mental day. And, I try to, make sure that, to my best ability to understand where she's at emotionally and just, give, give her space for love and grace to whether she needs to talk to her mom or, you know, just need a quiet space or just love. Just, just try to figure out how she, wants love from me in the moment. It's all a learning process. I really get tired of, I get tired of when my screen gets dim like this and then comes out for me talking, but whatever. But I really get tired of how submission, you know, it's just stepped on so bad. Yes, ladies, let you look. First of all, if your husband's directions is being given to him by God and he's doing his best to follow those, because nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. I made a let me catch myself because I said I was not going to use profanity. I have made a sugar honey iced tea load of mistakes. Shout out to my moms for that abbreviation. Yes, a lot of them. But through it all, man, I had to learn. It's a lot I had to learn. You think, and anybody that's been married over 20 plus years, 30 plus years, you think they didn't learn anything? You think they didn't have to learn something? Yeah, right. Tell you what, if you don't think you got to learn something, if you've been out of school for a while, go back to school now. Go take you a college course in some algebra and watch how algebra is taught now versus how it was the teaching of it was, let's say, 20 plus years ago when I got out of high school. I guarantee you the teaching of it is much different now. So yes, you're gonna have to allow grace to, for things to grow. You plant a plant outside, it's gonna grow down first before you see the fruits of it come up through the ground. So that's just what it is. God uses those things just like a seed to plant in your life. When it comes to those two things for the husband and wife, man, he's going to take his time because what he is ultimately looking for. Where's this verse set? Don't, don't, don't. Let's see. Right here. Yeah. Verse 26 and 27. Because what he truly wants is this. Once the husband and wife get better at these two things, this is what he's looking for. That he may sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he may present it to himself as a glorious church, not having a spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. That's it. That's it. That's what he needs. That's why it is so, excuse me, it is so vital for the submission of the woman with her husband, and for the husband for, to God, and for leadership of the wife and the family, if y'all got a family or if y'all just may starting out, however that goes, however it is. And I'm speaking on, just like the people say, husbands, man, wife, woman, because And I know it's 2025 and there's a lot of other stuff out there. So let me make that very, very clear. Man, woman. That's it. So that's what he wants from your marriage. So that he can sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of his word. Like we all need to be anyway, because we need that every day. That's what he truly wants to get from your marriage. Your marriage should be a representation of that, and just two people on a joint mission to grow together in God's, grace, love, and direction. Just don't look, to if any young singles ladies listen to this, middle aged lady listen to this. Look, man, you better start letting society lie to you about, you know, how submission looks, because they are painting an ugly picture of it for women. Like, yes, I can take to other verses and you can read more out of here about how the husband is, how you're supposed to submit to your husband and, everything. Like, I use this for example. I ain't gonna get like detailed into it, but I'll use this as an example. Me and my wife was having a discussion one time. Topic I'm gonna leave the topic out of, but we were having a discussion. It wasn't a bad discussion or anything like that. She, we was trying to figure something out. I gave her, you know, my perspective in place on it. She gave me her perspective in place on it. Ultimately, I made the decision like, well, we gonna, go this way. Like I said, I think, this is better. You know, she didn't disagree with it, but she felt that her, what she said and her perspective was, would work. And she didn't have no bad or wrong perspective at all. But once, the situation came about and we had to make the decision, and I made the decision to go with my perspective and my way. What I did was I also made sure that I used caveats from what she told me, because she gave good advice. She didn't give any bad advice. She gave really good advice. So what I did was I made a decision using, my perspective in the way that I thought of it, but I took a lot of the good caveats she had with her perspective and implemented it in. And everything worked out. You know, she gave me the grace and the lead as the husband to make the decision. But guess what? She, what she gave me literally was exactly how it was supposed to be. She's my helpmate. So therefore, it was a side by side, exchange of agreeing to disagree, because we both wanted to get to the same place. It wasn't like I'm trying to make a decision to get us somewhere, without her thought process of it. It just worked out very well. So, decision was made. When she saw that, oh, it's like you, I said, yeah. I said it, like it benefited the situation. So I mean, then she seen that, her, like your value in the information you have is validated with me. Like, it's not one of them things where I don't listen to you at all. Like, no, it's very validated, especially if you give me, if I think it's beneficial for us to make a step forward without, it clucking us in the head and it going two steps back, then most definitely I'm gonna use it. And that's what happens. And yet I still was able to get have the lead like I'm supposed to, and yet she understood that I held her by the hand with grace and understanding, that when I make this step, you make this step with me. Just like the old Luda song, when I move, you move. Simple. And we moved in harmony versus some type of irregular step. I stepped in her step. No, we both stepped together as one. There is no tat tat is tat at the same time. So sometimes, man, it's ladies, it's not about like, and I get there will be discrepancies with things in marriage. That's normal. That's just normal. But I will say this, excuse me, when you have discrepancies and y'all are discussing something, or maybe having I don't want to use the word argue, but people, couples argue. I like to use the word a heated exchange. Understand the tone of that you use in certain situations, because just like the Bible said, there's life and death in the tongue. You can speak life into certain arguments, or you can speak a dead ear to both. Y'all both can speak a dead ear to each other in a conversation. So keep that in mind, man. That's always something that's important. Like, you really, really can. There's a you know, because when you say something, sometimes you can't, you can apologize for it, but that don't mean you can take it back. So take that with a grain of salt. Um, so I want people, I want, like I said, older couples, that got years in their marriage, like myself, and like, some of the people that I try to keep myself around that are, more seasoned than me and then got more years. They understand this, and still, even when they do, like, they still bump heads. Like, my grandmother and granddad, my dad's mom and dad, Lord bless their soul, they going on to glory. My grandfather died young when I was young. I think I was like 14, 15. My grandmother passed probably, I probably want to say at least over 7 years ago. If I'm mistaken, I can't remember the date, but I remember one time we was sitting in her living room, and she was telling me about the time that her and my granddad had got into it. They were young, much younger. And he wasn't. They were just, young and wasn't trying to hear each other. She said that she had went in the closet, took all his clothes out, and cut them up. Just went to him, cut them all up. She said, "Baby, he had me so damn mad, I cut them all up." She said, "But you want to know what I learned in that point?" She said it didn't help doing anything. She said all it did was, one, make the situation worse. Two, took money out the house that we didn't need to have money take, because he had to go. My grandfather was a preacher. So he, pretty much suit guy, literally. So he had to go buy new suits and ties and stuff like that. So sometimes, anger and, trying to get back don't help anything. So I always want to say, people, man, make sure you communicate. Communication is so important when it comes to this part of your marriage. And, it's it's a process. It's a process. I don't want to focus on the negatives of submission, and you know sit up here and be like, no, a woman need to be doing, no, 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 no. You ain't gonna get, you get like that, as the old saying go, you get more results with something with sweetness than bitterness. You really, really do. So the better you are, both of y'all trying to do y'all best with God and for each other, man, you will get so much further. Ladies, don't get no bad. Don't let no women. Don't. Let me tell you something, especially for these single women out here, man, because this is going to lead into my next in my next video. I'm sorry. When it's going to get into my next video will be about intimacy and communication, and that's something that's very important. And this is kind of a setup for it, because when ladies always say, well, I want him to, pay me attention and things. That's, look, man, I ain't mind readers, help us out a little bit, just a little bit. But man, this is a building block towards that next episode when it comes to intimacy and communication. But when these things are work, like when these things are worked at, and y'all are trying y'all best, everything else flows and falls into a good rhythm. It really, really does. Like, if it flows and falls into a good rhythm. When a man is doing his best, trying to follow God, being submissive to how God wants him to be, of the knowing that, hey, you said I do in front of her, that means that you're going to lay down everything for the betterment of your wife, to make sure, however that is, however that looks for you. Because, like I said, don't compare your marriage to somebody else. Dudes, my guys, do not compare yourself to another dude. Don't do it. And for a man to, do that, and then for, like I said, like this, once he's do that, he's expended a lot of the times. And I don't mean that, from a physical standpoint. I mean that sometimes it's mainly more from a spiritual in a emotional standpoint. A guy will come home now, you won't notice it because like we typically, we men try to keep their emotions I don't, in check, and we understand the responsibility and the role that we have to have and take on. But, you know, whether you a guy that, hey, and shout out to all my guys that, man, if your wife can stay at home and she don't have to work and watch the kids, man, God bless you. Keep doing your thing, my brother. Get your bag, my brother. Get them racks, get them stacks, get your fetty, get your cheese. When you walk in the bank, everything goes slow motion and everything turn and look at you and be like, Mr. Smith, welcome. Yeah, I know it. Appreciate it. Take me on to the back. Yo, get to it, get to it, my guys. Get to it, get to it, get to it. I ain't hating on nobody. I really, really ain't. I hope you get as much as you can get. Get it. And if your wife works, hey, and if both of y'all are getting it, blessings. Get it. Get it. Understand that, man. Money is just a tool. Money don't run your marriage. That's all it is. Because I can promise you, when God calls you home, ain't no bricks trucks, ain't no Wells Fargo's, ain't no 401ks, no mutual funds, no investments, no assets, no none of that stuff gonna be getting put in no casket with neither one of you. And if you have any jury on, I guarantee you, if one of your family members don't get it, them caretakers that before they throw that dirt on you, they gonna get it off you. So you can't take it with you. So, so hey, think of it like that. The whole goal, man, is for the both of y'all to get to where you're going. Get to that kingdom. Be told, well done. Cause I truly understand, man. Now being in my 40s, that man, a lot of this stuff that's going on out here, man. Especially out here in these streets, man. You see, I see stories of what's going on in Atlanta, what's going on in Houston, man, about STIs. Back in our day, they was called STDs, but now they call them STIs. Man, a lot of this stuff going. Man, I thank God I am not out here in these streets with these single people trying to find companionship because boy, it is ruthless out here. It's ruthless. It is the wild, wild west, boy. People doing any and everything. People they don't care. They not concerned. People don't be being honest. Like it's a lot going on out here in these streets, man. It's a lot. So if you got a good, you got a good wife at home. I ain't say perfect. I say good wife. And if you got a good husband at home, not perfect, a good husband that's doing his best, man. Y'all support each other. It ain't about like lady support him. Now y'all support each other. Be there for each other, man. Love on each other. Nourish each other. Try to when somebody running empty, man, try to fill them up and vice versa. Um, Try to hold on to that because I'm telling you, man, these streets. Let you know right now, man, these streets ain't nothing to be playing in out here, man. It ain't. It's bad. Some bad stuff going on out here. Some very, very bad stuff going on out here in the streets, man. It ain't what you think. That's gonna lead into my episode after intimacy and communication, because I was raised in a church. Um, I have heard a lot of speaking from, like I said, my grandfather was a preacher. My dad is one. He has his master's in theology. I can go down the list. My dad's brother is my dad, youngest brother. God, bless his soul, because he died in 2006, I believe, from HIV/AIDS. So that's why I say like it's wild out here in these streets. That was one of the hardest pills to swallow because back then, if you caught that that disease, all you was just on borrowed time. Then there was really no medicine that could help you. So my grand, it's just one of them things. So like I come from on my father's side there was a big church family. My grandmother, which was my mom that raised me, she was too. But man, truly love communicating with each other, ladies. We wives, and like I said, for single women out there, man, if you really want to learn if you want to learn good wifely traits, you need to get around a married couple that has been married a long time. And I was let me throw this out. Um shouts out to my wife, mom, man, Barbara Taylor. I gotta give shouts out to the lady because I remember when I was dating, her, we was boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. Now she's my wife. You know, when I would go over there and see her, I would pay attention to her mom a lot because back then it wasn't like now. You couldn't eat. I couldn't even talk to her on Sundays, like literally. I promise you, if I call her on Sunday, she was like, I can't. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you on Monday because I gotta lay down and go to sleep and get ready to go back to second service for church. Like straight up. Didn't even waste my time really talking to her. I talked to her on a Sunday. But on the days that I used to go over there, if her mom, either in the kitchen cooking or just doing the things that from what I used to view and see is just what a mom with two daughters and a husband would do, and just taking care of her house. And she worked and did very well for herself working, working for the state. So, she's, you know, did her thing. Shouts out to her. Love that lady, man. That woman has been a true blessing. To me, she's always been what she has been to her baby girl and my wife. So she's been amazing, amazing, amazing woman. But man, it's just one of them things that like I got to see that and see them love on each other, care for each other, be there for each other, even through their ups and downs, even when they had situations, still seeing them work through it, love on each other, care for each other, you know, and also like I always say, keep people out your business because you can't get to your destination with with hitchhikers. Don't work like that. Hitchhikers, you can't have hitchhikers on your in your business when you're trying to work towards the place that God trying to get you to go. So man, I always say that to couples, man, make sure y'all make those times. And I'll say this to ladies, to wives, especially if y'all, especially for a couple that's young in their marriage, make that space for your husband to come to you when he's struggling. You gotta make a safe space for him. You have to. That's vital. You know, we always tend to do that. For you know, I really don't necessarily hear a lot of times, ladies not having a safe space. I hear it a lot. I hear for men when it comes to women because a lot of us we have to be so strong all the time. But young wise man, do your best to sit down. Both of y'all communicate and talk with each other to make a safe space for the for the both of you. Not just a safe space for him or a safe space for you, for the both of you because y'all are one. Y'all are not two, y'all are one. So the space has to be safe for both of y'all to be vulnerable. It just has to be. So man, with that being said, man, I ain't gonna end it just yet, but I want it's there's so much more that goes into this. There's so much more, man. It's so much. It's so much when it comes to this part. It really, really is. I'm just down here looking. I have, I had so many notes and things I wanted to say when it comes to this particular subject, but I had to kind of narrow down certain points that I want to hit and certain, certain parts of this I wanted to just kind of, you know, go over because like verse 29, verse 28 and 29 is very important because it says, so ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself, for no man ever hate his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as the Lord the church. So, ladies, you understand if he's treating himself good, he's gonna do it. When he's trying to follow God, he's gonna try to treat you the same because y'all are one. That's why it says that. That verse is important, man. So, like I said, man, it's just one of them things, man. When it comes to submission, ladies, it's not about making you are never necessarily a secondary role in a marriage. You know, if you get into a car and it's just you and the husband, you ain't in the back seat. You in the passenger seat. You on the you on you you so you You on the right hand side of him. It's just that simple. You are on the side of your husband. You're not behind your husband. You're not in front of your husband. You are on the side, just where you came from. When he has to make a leadership position, both of y'all sit down, talk about it. Let and even when you give and if you give him great advice, he's gonna take that advice and put it with his, because if y'all are truly, as it says, one, what the both of y'all come up with shouldn't be too far off from how each one of you think anyway. It should literally be, y'all should be literally in the same lane, going almost literally the same speed, you know, covering the same distance. So it shouldn't necessarily always be, off script of each other. It just really shouldn't. You know, it can come like that. Now kids can make that a little bumpy a lot of times because hey, I have truly found out wives love their sons and dads are literally googly eyed over their daughters. It's just like that. And I got two boys, so you already know how it is for me. But now they're young men, so a lot of that for me has died and tapered off a lot. So yes. um, but especially for single women out there, man. Whether you're a young lady, or whether you're a lady, my age. I ain't gonna really speak to women older than me. I just don't feel like if you're a woman that's older than me and when the word submission comes up and you're not married and that offends you, I don't even know where to start. I'm just being dead real with you. But for a younger woman, a woman close to my age, man, and you're you want God to have a man to come along and find you as a wife, because as the Bible says, when a man finds a wife, if you want to be in that place to be found when you pray, if I would say this, if a woman praying for a husband, understand what you're praying for, because God may already have the man there. He may not have him in your presence yet, but he may just be working on you to get some traits about you where he needs them to be before that man comes into your presence. So some you gotta like when I think sometimes when we pray for certain things, we gotta understand, you may pray for it and ask God for it this way, but when God gets it, he's gonna decipher it and make a decision on how he completely wants to. It ain't got nothing to do with you once you lay it on his altar and you turn her and you end it. Once he picks it up, he is the true he has however he gonna pull it, he gonna pull it. So don't question it because he may just be getting you ready. He gonna have to. He may just be getting you ready. So it's just how that goes sometimes. It's just one of them things, man. It's just one of them things. So you gotta, it's just how it works out. But yeah, that's just how it works out. Next episode, man, we will be talking about communication and intimacy, and that's gonna be an interesting topic. That's gonna be a real interesting topic. Let me switch to my other view. Let me get out of this view. Come get out of this view. Yeah. So next episode, next podcast, we're gonna be talking about intimacy and communication. Um, like I said earlier, man, I was raised in the church. Dad's a preacher, granddad was one, but that don't mean anything. But I will say this: no one never told me about the scripture that I'm gonna use when I get to the next episode. I found out it would maybe God just presented it to me reading when I was just reading one day. I just chose. I ain't gonna tell nobody what it is yet. I was just reading. I just opened up a certain book in the Bible and I just started reading. And when I read it, I was like, it's an interesting verse. And I went down to my study Bible where my notes be, and it broke that verse down for me. And I was like, oh wow, really? That's interesting. And so I said, well, let me make sure. So I went and picked up my other Bible. There's not a real difference. This Bible is King James. My older Bible is New King James. So they're pretty much 99% the same. But I wanted to see if it really stuck to the same principle and guidelines. And when I opened the Bible up, it did. I said, well, wow, That's interesting. That was very interesting. That it really gave those type of instructions when it came to intimacy with husband and wife. So that's gonna be my next episode, next podcast. And that podcast, I already got the one in my mind after that one. But that one, after intimacy and communication, is gonna be one that I'm gonna be that honest with you, man. It's gonna be some single ladies that ain't gonna like you. You may not like that topic. You're not. I don't think that one's gonna be one that's gonna be likable because I'm gonna cover some certain things, and for guys too. Yeah, y'all too. But I'm gonna cover some things on that one that I personally just do not like, especially now in today's culture and how um and just how things are being presented, man. It's teaching a lot of bad habits, teaching a lot of just giving a lot of bad information. So man, that one after intimacy and communication is gonna be one that's gonna be rough. I've really been mentally just playing that one over in my head. But intimacy and communication is gonna be pretty. It's gonna be pretty interesting. You know, when we get to that next one, that one's gonna be interesting. So, ladies, uh, and for the fellas too, I think it's gonna lean a little bit more heavy toward the ladies on this one. Ladies, I'm gonna set the tone and set the narrative with that one. It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one, man. I can't wait to really kind of get my feet wet with that one. It's gonna be really, really interesting. I really want to see how that one open. How maybe I get out my own way and let God just open that up to me to give me some good mental strong points for that. But with that being said, man, I'm get ready to end this one. Wow, close to an hour. Okay, but like I said, man, when it comes to submission, man, ladies understand, man, it's not one of them. I'm like I said, I don't want to focus on um all the strong points to do this, to do that, to do that, to do this. Like those things are voluntarily. Like and then when I say that, that don't mean that they're not to be done. That means that that's you are a reflection of your husband. So when your how your submission look, that is totally on your reflection of how you view yourself and you view your marriage when you look in the mirror with God there. So the one thing I can honestly say, when you are willing to submit and willing to do the things that are supposed to be done, any real man or woman, you will get the same in return. So it's just a two-way. It's just like it's just like communication. It's a two-way street, but now it's just with actions. And if you say you truly love someone, like if you truly love someone, like you love yourself, excuse me, there shouldn't be no issue with you submitting, a woman submitting to her husband, and a husband, you know, submitting to God and taking all of that, you know, sacrificial submission that he has to learn and carry on his shoulders every day to make sure that the woman is good and to make sure that he does his absolute best for the betterment of the marriage for her. That's his job. That's his job. So, and you know, like I said, ladies, when he's doing his best to do that, all he wants, like man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm a simple guy. I don't need like much at all to be like good. I really don't. I think most men are like that. I don't really think, that's just like I said, it's just right now this is my personal me just mentally rolling out, vibing in my head. I don't really think a lot of men are really extra. I just don't really think we are like, man, look, good meal, come home, what I love about when I come home, my wife that made it home, she, hey babe, smile, show me love, give me a kiss, like that right there. Those are the things that make you want to come home. And, I try to make sure that I reciprocate the same thing to her, showing her that, when I get home and if she's here before me, that I'm happy that she's here. I'm glad that she's here. I'm glad that, you know, she's making our, house into a home with her energy and her presence. Like that right there is just, it's like walking into the house and God is saying, I'm taking this weight. You're good. If I wake you up tomorrow and you walk out the door, you put that back on when you walk out the door. Right now, it's just like when you go to work and they tell you leave all your problems outside the door. When you go to any job, that's any job. When you go to work, they say, look, leave all your personal issues outside the door. It should be the same thing when you get home to your wife, or when the husband get home to the wife, or the wife get home to the husband. Leave all your outside issues outside your home. The only thing that you want in your home is God, each other, and if you have family, family. So when God wake you up the next day, then you pick that stuff back up and you go out into the world and you have to deal with the world, whether y'all separate on your jobs or y'all together, then you deal with things like that. But treat it the same way, man. Like, everybody know you go to work, the first stuff, look, especially on, big jobs, big corporate jobs and big manufacturing jobs. Like I work, man, them people will tell you quit because one, they don't want you to get hurt on the job thinking of other things. So they'll be quick to tell you leave all your personal issues outside. When you're in here, focus on work. That way you can get home the same way you left. Well, guess what? When you get home, leave all those outside issues outside your home. That way, when you at home, man, you can focus on God, each other, and just serving one another, man. Just like wife serving her husband, the husband serving her wife should be a good feeling, man. It should be a good feeling. It really, really should. So, man, with that being said, man, look, for those who watch this video, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Appreciate y'all for, listening to, my perspective on submission, man. And this is not all of it. Like I said, this is just a really condensed version of it because I really could speak for much longer on this, but I wouldn't do that. But I'm not gonna do that. Maybe somewhere down the road I'll make a part two or something. But like I said, with that being said, like man, like always, your boy Mr. GDK. Appreciate y'all. It's all love, man. You know, as I always say, stay prayed up because these streets out here is crazy, man. These streets out here is crazy. And like I always say, man, stay humble. And if like I and it might not end on this one. If you got a good person in your corner, man, you got a good God fearing person in your corner. I suggest you don't. I suggest you don't look over that person. Don't let money and the stature of that person. Don't make that. Don't make that. Give you make you look over an individual. Don't, because you sometimes, man, we don't know where God done brought people from. Husbands, love your wives. You know, do the laying down in the sacrificial submission for your wives that God wants you to do. Wives, submit unto your husband as you are submit unto the Lord first. Give each other grace to grow, give each other grace to learn, and then support each other along the way. That's gonna be one of the most important things. Support each other along the way, man. You really, and you'll find, and what'll happen is a lot of the things that there's gonna be stumbling blocks as you grow in your marriage. You'll look back on and you're gonna be like, man, what in the world was we going? Like, what were we thinking? But you just find out that you were just young, inexperienced, and you just had to go through it for your marriage to get to where it is. So, like I said, with that being said, man, I'm out. Love y'all. Y'all have a great day. Blessings and peace.